Hair Gordon, H2O, G-Time. Gordon Hayward has announced his retirement, and if we're being honest, the last few years of his career didn't do him much justice. It's a bittersweet tale of Gordon Hayward. If you were to look at his career as a whole and punch it into a calculator, he'd probably have a negative chance of making the Hall of Fame. A one-time All-Star, empty trophy shelves. The only other thing that he has going for him on his Boy Scout stash of patches is that he's the all-time leader in free throw percentage for the playoffs. No, you heard that right. Gordon Hayward shoots 95% from the line in the playoffs, and that leads all NBA and ABA players in all of history. But for someone who spent majority of his career in an era dominated by the eye test, I think it's only fair to take the same approach and break down some film from some of his best moments throughout his career. One thing we've got to address is Gordon's body control and explosiveness when he's headed downhill towards the basket. Watch as he plants his outside foot, leaning away from the contact at the hips from Randall to not take away from his initial vertical burst, and absolutely booms it on his head. He's got a build where he was able to take bumps in the air, and he coupled that with his advanced understanding of angles and agility, and it led to some wild finishes throughout his career. Celtics Hayward had a little bit more of a methodical approach. Without the same hop and pop he had in his Jazz days, he was a little more reliant on having to string combos together and incorporate a tighter handle than his prior days of bumping and soaring down the lane. He was always a deadly shooter, however, and he used that to constantly upfake defenders and get into his spots. Boston Hayward was a weird experiment, and had it not been for a freak injury, that Celtics squad is probably the best bet against those iterations of the Warriors. It was a different version of Gordon, but one that was actually the most efficient from inside the arc of his entire career. He shined as a mid-range scorer for Boston. It's just a shame that his athleticism and confidence was derailed with one of the worst injuries the NBA has ever seen. Charlotte might not have been the most glamorous version of G-Money, but it is where he managed to snag his final career high of 44. This version of Hayward was much more aggressive at hunting his three-point shot, and for good reason. Some of his confidence was finally coming back. He managed to shoot 41% on the season with his best year in Charlotte, and was attempting 5 a game. His scoring from the 7 to 18 feet range was lethal. His mid-range stroke was buttery. His three-level scoring was beginning to look like it was mirroring his time in Utah. This was clearly the home stretch for Hayward, but he was showing that he still had something in the tank to prove. A bunch of outbursts like this made his 4-ish seasons with Charlotte memorable for a lot of people. With the best hair in basketball announcing his retirement, we at 2for1 Hoops wish you good luck in your future podcasts and can't wait to have you on for an episode.